Now, from CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Good morning, I'm Jim DeFede, and welcome to Facing South Florida. We have a lot to get to. In a few minutes, we will be joined by the President of the Florida Senate, Joe Negron. But first, the big story of the week was President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement, which is an accord signed by more than 190 countries around the world, recognizing the urgent need to address global warming and man's role in it. By announcing his plans to pull out of the agreement, President Trump has decided to align the United States with Nicaragua and Syria, the only two countries who also refused the agreement. Here is some of what the president said.
And we want fair treatment for our taxpayers. We don't want other leaders and other countries laughing at us anymore, and they won't be. They won't be. I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
Joining me now to discuss what this means is Miami Beach Mayor Philip Levine, who had supported the agreement and urged the president not to withdraw. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jim.
So what does this actually mean, the president withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement?
Well, first of all, when I hear his quote about how he represents Pittsburgh and not Paris, I had no idea that Pittsburgh was not experiencing climate change. I mean, it's very unique to all of us. We just learned something there. What does it mean?
And the mayor of Pittsburgh was surprised because he came out and announced, that he plans to try to continue to move forward.
Matter of fact, the mayor of Pittsburgh will be in Miami Beach this month because we're hosting the United States Conference of Mayors. All mayors will be here. So we're going to be having a big conversation about what does it mean for cities like Miami Beach, for coastal cities that are experiencing sea level rise due to climate change. It's almost like the United States government is working against us. We're trying to make our cities resilient. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and we've been doing it on Miami Beach, as you know, and we have a president that's saying, I don't believe in it. I don't care if the globe heats up, the water's going to come across. Jim, Mar-a-Lago, the house he lives on, Palm Beach, right on the ocean there. I guess maybe he plans to turn that into a water park or something in the future. I'm not sure. But it means that it shows that our country is no longer a leader in something which is so important, and he's basically saying, I don't believe it, and it's wrong.
What the president is arguing, or at least the argument that he put forth, is that this is an economic one. This is part of his America First agenda, that he has to place the needs of the United States worker ahead of some global initiative that might make people feel good. I want to play for you a little bit more sound where he makes that argument. Let's go to that soundbite about America.
So we're getting out. But we will start to negotiate, and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair. And if we can, that's great. And if we can't, that's fine. As president, I can put no other consideration before the well-being of American citizens. The Paris Climate Accord is simply the latest example of Washington entering into an agreement that disadvantages the United States to the exclusive benefit of other countries.
He's saying, in a sense, that this is going to cost jobs, it's going to cost money, it's going to put coal miners and others who need jobs out of work. He's saying that this is a job killer.
Right, so I totally disagree with him. The ability to create jobs by going into renewable energies, going into sustainable energy, solar power, wind power, it's creating thousands of more jobs than coal. It's almost like saying, let's double down on the horse and buggy. Why don't we reinvest in the horse and buggy? It's wrong. Matter of fact, you see people like Elon Musk, who created Tesla, who's saying, I'm going to disassociate myself with the president now, because what's happening is that we can create more jobs. We can create greater businesses by investing in the future, which is renewable energies. That's the future.
But isn't right now renewable energy far more expensive to produce than traditional coal or fossil fuel or energy?
Well, you could say that buying a car is more expensive than a horse and buggy. So the fact of the matter is, renewable energies are the future. Look at Florida. We're the Sunshine State. We should be investing in the solar power industry. Instead, we're now allowing China and India and Europe to take the lead in these advanced technologies. He's looking backwards. If you want to invest in the coal industry, that's the wrong way to go. We should be investing in the future. I believe that President Trump is hanging on to his very small core base, and it's the wrong thing to do.
Now, you've heard a number of mayors mayors, both at the city level, the county level, even some governors, saying that they will continue to participate, whether or not the United States pulls out of the agreement, they will continue to work within their areas, the states or the cities or the counties, to enact it in its own way. Is that going to be effective? Can you do it in a piecemeal way around the country?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, Miami Beach, we're going to be doing the same thing. I just signed an agreement, and we're going to ratify it at our commission meeting, basically saying that we are going to follow through on the Paris protocols. But it's not just governors and politicians. It's CEOs from the largest companies in America, including like Jeff Immelt of General Electric, that are saying we need to go forward. So how could all the CEOs of the most powerful companies say this is the wrong move, Mr. President? There's no one more pro-business than these CEOs, but this president is going the wrong direction.
All right, so this will likely then become an issue for the governor's race in 2018, whether or not Florida, as a state, a very large state, as you point out, could be a leader in solar energy, whether or not that is, do you believe that the Paris Agreement will become an issue in the 2018 governor's race?
I absolutely think so. But I think that most reasonable people will understand that you want to invest in the future and not the past. So I think it will be an issue, but I think you would believe that we are the Sunshine State. Let's invest in solar energy. And I think that most reasonable folks would believe that that is a great future industry for everybody to invest in.
Is that a message you think you could run on if you run for governor?
You know what? If I ever to run for governor, Jim, I think there's many messages. I think it's about education. It's about bringing innovation, great companies. People always say, how do you bring great companies to the state of Florida? Well, I have a great recommendation. You want Google, you want Apple, you want GE? Go look at their human resource handbook. See how they treat their people. Treat your people the same way, and guess what? Those companies will come to Florida. I think that's a bigger, greater message. When you have a great job, when you build a great business, when you can invest in a great company, start a great company, invest in infrastructure, people want to live and be in your state.
It sounds like you are running.
Not right now. Haven't decided yet. But I'm having fun going.
What's your timetable?
I think in the fall. Absolutely. I've been going all over the state, Jim, and I've been enjoying it, talking to everybody, listening to. I always say I'm listening to the customers, and I'm talking, I'm speaking, and I'm really, in my mind, coming together with a conclusion, which I'll reveal in the fall.
All right. The issue of the Paris Accord. Were you surprised that the president pulled out of it? I mean, he made this a campaign issue. He ran on the fact that he was going to withdraw. Would he have not been going back on his word if he didn't?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's probably the only elected official that everyone's been praying that will not fulfill their campaign promises. But I think he has in this situation. Miami Beach, we've been experiencing, sunny day flooding for years. We're building up our roads. We're putting in pumps. It's a shame to see a president of our country going against our communities.
You mentioned, and I want to turn into a different subject in a second, but you mentioned that Miami Beach will continue to follow the protocols. What specifically will Miami Beach be doing?
Well, for example, we're building a convention center. We're going to make sure that convention center is LEED certified and that it will be a very energy efficient structure. All our government buildings, we're trying to make sure for the future are very, very fuel government, very, very efficient with renewable energies. And we're going to be encouraging our residents to do so. Remember, these Paris climate change treaties are all voluntary. In other words, that was the whole point. They're voluntary. They're goals. And it's a shame. When President Trump talks about renegotiating, I get real scared whenever he wants to renegotiate anything because talking to some of those banks. Renegotiating his debt with those Atlantic City casinos didn't work out too well. All
right, I want to turn to another issue that you're dealing with as mayor of Miami Beach. That's the question surrounding Ocean Drive. There were several shootings. You said, this is a quote from you, Ocean Drive has become a cancer. We need to eradicate that cancer because we don't want that cancer to spread to the healthy tissue of Miami Beach. Is it really appropriate for a mayor who represents a city to call the businesses on that part of his city a cancer?
100%. 100%. Because the difference between me, Jim, and a politician is I'm not beholden to anybody except for the people of Miami Beach.
Are they not hardworking people? Do they not pay taxes?
100%. But you know what else? There's also other hardworking people that live in Miami Beach, that work at our great hotels and other restaurants, and they want to protect the brand of Miami Beach. And when you have 3 or 4 major mega clubs right on Ocean Drive that are creating an environment where there's prostitution, there's drug dealing, there's muggings, we have 2 choices, okay? We can either make it a police state, state, invest millions of dollars in our police force so that our residents don't get the proper policing at their homes and protection. Or we could say, hey, let's put safety over profits. Let's like literally reduce the time from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. But Jim, it's an important point. Not the hotels, not the big clubs. All of Miami Beach will be open until 5 a.m. It's just a small section because we need to clean up that street.
All right, I want to play for you one piece of sound from your press conference. It was a fairly interesting moment that took place between you and the owner of Mango's.
Absolutely.
You are talking about businesses that created the famous label of Miami Beach.
Thank you so much,
You should
sir.
be talking with respect.
I appreciate it very much. And you know what you did? You inherited a business. Go get a job, go build a company, and go tell me when you build something. Thank you.
Is that really the way you should be talking to a business owner in your community?
No question about it. And you know what? If he'd like to apologize to me, I'm so happy to hear his apology. But I tell you something, Jim.
You don't owe him an apology?
Absolutely not, Jim. You know what happens is that you can't give campaign contributions to a bunch of commissioners that are going to listen to you. You know what you resort to? You resort to coming and screaming and yelling. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know if that individual rewrote history, but the Miami Beach brand wasn't built on a big open-air club that causes chaos in our city. And we won't let it continue.
I want to play for you one more piece of sound. This from the individual who manages the Clevelander.
Sure.
2 a.m. is not a solution. It's just basically a feel-good measure, and the solution has to be much more in depth. You have to look at all the other things that could create the issues that we're having. Criminals are coming to the beach, doing what they need to do day and night, and we've been working ourselves on the 10-point plan. We've added security at night. We've been getting arrests. We've been doing things on our own, out of our own pocket to improve the experience, and it's just unfair that we're being singled out, and that it's all stemming from us.
You had said a second ago that, part of your plan is to eliminate sales between 2 and 5 a.m. And maybe roll it back to what? Midnight even.
If we had to on Ocean Drive, we'll do what it takes.
But these shootings did not take place at 2 a.m.
Absolutely
They took place much earlier in the day.
Right.
So how would a 2 a.m. curfew or a midnight curfew have avoided these shootings?
That's a very good point. Let me explain it to you. What happens is when people know those clubs are open on Ocean Drive till 5 a.m. in this open-air environment with music blaring out, they'll get there at 10:30 at night, and they're going to go party all night. But if last call's at 1:30, guess what? They're not coming there, okay? And by the way, our other clubs, our hotels, they serve till 5 a.m. They have great security. They're organized. They're tight. It doesn't involve that carnival-type atmosphere. There was a day, Jim, when residents and tourists loved to come to Ocean Drive. No one goes there anymore. We need to make sure Ocean Drive is safe for everybody in our city. And unfortunately, these measures have to happen. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let the people of Miami Beach decide. We're going to bring it to them for a vote in November. Let them make their decision of what they think should happen on Ocean Drive. We did it last year with the straw ballot, and the people said, shut them at 2 a.m. Let's see how they feel now.
Mayor Levine, thank you for your time. Good to have you come in.
Thank you.
We'll be talking more. Up next, Governor Rick